If you did not see my community post from the beginning of May, this video is about the European gypsy moth, also known as Lamantia dispar. I was planning on making this video a month ago, and I just never had the time to write a script, and I was extremely busy with softball and other sports, and just there was so much going on. And now that summer break has arrived, I can finally start filming and start writing this script. Let's get started with the actual video now, and I can explain to you why this moth is even here in the first place. This moth is originally from Europe and England, but because of a little scientist that wanted to crossbreed it with silkworms, it is now invasive in the New England portion of the United States. The classification for an invasive species is that it is not natively from the area that it's harming, and that it harms where it is. When new species are introduced to the environment, these predators have no clue if they can eat that or not, so they just don't eat it. This leads to the population of the invasive species becoming unchecked and unbalanced as nothing eats them. The moth's invasivity and lack of predators only adds to their destruction as they eat absolutely everything in their caterpillar stage. About 3 weeks ago, if you walked outside and stood underneath the tree, you would hear a crackling noise, like popcorn. Almost. For a while, I thought that this crackling noise was the caterpillars eating the leaves off the trees. I was wrong. It is the caterpillar's feces hitting the ground and making a loud thud, like popcorn hitting the ground. That is just how much these caterpillars were eating. As the citizens of New England watched all their plants and their crops just be absolutely demolished by these caterpillars, there was also a sudden uptick in beetle population. There was beetles absolutely everywhere, and also cicadas. There's 2 eras of cicadas, the 13-year cicadas and the 17-year cicadas that are showing up this year. It's like the 7 deadly plagues of New York. Now though, the worst part is over. The moths are now fully grown, their caterpillars are all gone, and we don't have to worry about them eating our crops anymore because the moths don't eat anything. They die in 2 weeks. That doesn't mean the moths aren't annoying though. If I walked outside right now and I just looked around, I'd see hundreds of moths. They are everywhere. There are so many of them and they just keep coming. Well, you might be saying, hey, if they only eat your crops and your plants for a few weeks, why does it matter? It matters because these caterpillars and these moths outcompete other species. Outcompeting another species means that the invasive species takes up so much space and so much food and so much resources that the native species can't keep up, and they eventually die out as the gypsy moths replace them. For example, any other bug or critter that eats the oak tree in my backyard cannot get the amount of oak tree leaves that it needs because all of the caterpillars are just eating the oak tree leaves, and then there's no more left for the species that have been here the entire time. This leads to a lack of biodiversity, which is one of the worst things in ecology. Though if you're not a farmer, these caterpillars don't really harm you all that much, unless you touched one. When you touch the caterpillars, they leave a little rash on your hand, almost like poison ivy. The poison ivy-like rash was most severe when the caterpillars were itty-bitty. They were real small, real tiny. We're talking millimeter size. So people just wouldn't even see the caterpillars because they would glide. They glide in the air, by the way, with their little webs. They would glide towards them, land on them, get the little rash all over them, and then glide away. You'd just have poison ivy and you'd have no clue where it came from. I remember when I was just a little lad in elementary school, I would see these caterpillars and I would cover them with my hands as kids attempted to stomp on them and ruin them and spill their guts absolutely everywhere. Now I can safely say that I've become one of those little children squishing all the caterpillars and going like this and hoping that they all die, because they just ruin the ecosystem. When the moths first arrived, I squished all of them in paper towels. I would grab a paper towel on my hand and I'd go along every railway that I saw because they were absolutely covered, and I'd pull my hand away. There'd be the blood of thousands on my hands. Last year was the first time I really saw them be destructive and outcompete everything. They were everywhere, but especially my summer camp. I think I saw thousands of them that year. It seems like there were much more last year than this year, but it might have been just because I was in a hot spot for them where they laid their eggs. And because I thought these moths were cute, I told everyone to not kill them and to leave them be. And I even tried to save one that had just laid eggs and was actively bleeding out and dying. I was quite the strange child, if I do say so myself. But thank you, Miss Penny, for letting me know that these moths are insanely destructive and that they're invasive and they don't deserve to live here. They don't deserve to live here. They can go back to Europe. Someone's gonna take that out of context. There are some people that I would like to mention and thank for giving me the inspiration to make this video. I've admired these people for a very, very long time, and I've wanted to make a video in a style that is at least kind of close to them and talk about stuff that they have inspired me to learn a lot more about, and I am very thankful for that. Thank you to Atlas Pro, thank you. Lindsay Nicole, also thank you. You have started a hyperfixation about prehistory for me. And Miss Penny, my ecology biology teacher for this year. Thank you all. All right, and now I'm gonna go edit this. Bye.